Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. Hello, Maverick family. Charlie Kirk's alleged killer made his first court appearance today, emotionless, essentially. We'll show you exactly what happened during that session in court in Utah. Also, it looks like the federal government in Canada is getting ready to finally table a budget, but it's still going to be a while. We'll tell you when that is going to happen, and we'll give you the exchange between Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and Canada's finance minister. And Donald Trump still dealing with the story that won't go away as a giant Trump and Epstein banner is unfurled. And we'll show you that as well. So stay with us. We have a lot to share with you tonight.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So Charlie Kirk's alleged killer, Tyler Robinson, appeared briefly in court. It was a virtual court appearance in Utah. Utah Valley University is where the shooting took place September 10th. Charlie Kirk shot in the neck. Judge Tony Graff read to Robinson 7 charges he is facing and told him that he is being given a court-appointed lawyer as he is deemed indigent. And after the brief hearing, Graff said the next hearing will be held September 29th, 10 a.m. local time. We have right here the court appearance, and we're going to run it for you now.
In 15 minutes after the court has taken a recess. As a general note, no electronic usage is allowed unless pre-approved. Any disruptions will be removed. To the jail, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff. Mr. Skortis.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You're probably already aware of my presence or why I'm here, but if not, I am not entering an appearance. I'm not counsel on this case. I'm working with the county to get counsel assigned, but we need you to allow for the appointment of counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Skortis. I want to go through the qualifications
Absolutely.
For indigency, but that is my intent, Mr. Skortis.
Very well.
And I thank you for being here. So, Mr. Robinson, you have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you. I have reviewed your declaration of financial status and find that you are indigent. I'm provisionally appointing a Rule 8 qualified attorney to represent you on your case, Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8 and Rule 8C, under Rule 8B and Rule 8C for counsel appointment in a case where death may be a sentencing option. I'm ordering that those declarations be filed prior to the next hearing date, which is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. Mr. Robinson, I also wish to inform you of your right against self-incrimination. Anything that you say in court today could be used against you, and we want to protect your constitutional rights. Mr. Robinson, at this time, you will remain in custody without bail. Mr. Skordas, is there any other points that you wish to address?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Turning to the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Chad Grunander for the state. I'm also joined, and they're listed as attendees, Ryan McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, and Chris Ballard. We are the trial team on this case. I do have a few points I'd like to bring up with Your Honor. We have filed a pretrial protective order on behalf of Erica Kirk. We would ask the court to review that. It should be in your queue, Your Honor, and sign that.
Thank you. I have reviewed the pretrial protective order and will be issuing this pretrial protective order in favor of Erica Kirk. Is there any other business that we need to address today, counsel?
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. So that should be in the court's file. Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Rule 16 requires us to provide what we have relied on in charging the information and bringing these charges within 5 days once it's requested. So that'll be prepared to disseminate to the defense as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Grunander. Mr. Robinson, what I also want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of, and I wish to read those to you at this time. Thank you. Mr. Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice, if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-11-210 sub 2 and 3C, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm, and that the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child, aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent offense in the presence of a child. Count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or pursuant to any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, conceal or remove the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or a first-degree felony. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, with an intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or first-degree felony. Count 5, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-508, in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony, information, a document, or an item, to wit, directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages. Count 6, tampering with a witness, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-508, in that on or about September 11th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, directing his roommate to stay silent if the police questioned the roommate. Count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.10 sub 2 and 76-3-203.14 sub 3A little double I, in that on or about September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, committed criminal homicide in the physical presence of a child younger than 14 years of age, with knowledge that a child was present and that may have been seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing. and I will be the judge assigned to this case. Mr. Robinson, I invite you to join us at that time. Is there anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor, we'll have counsel appointed by then. Thank you.
Mr. Gurander, anything further?
One item, just for clarification, Your Honor, the hearing on the 29th, is that in person or WebEx?
Thank you. That is a great question. It will be via WebEx.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right. I want to thank all parties for being here, and this concludes this hearing at this time. Court is in recess.
All right.
So, as you saw, virtually no emotion from Tyler Robinson as the 7 charges were read aloud in court. And the story continues to evolve. We continue to see the politics surrounding all this play out in extreme and dramatic ways, not just in the United States, but really around the world. And of course, the celebrities weigh in on this as well. It's inevitable. And here's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He got his 2 cents worth in as well.
I was very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, this was a great communicator, a great advocate for the right, for Republican causes. And he had such a great way of communicating with the students that agreed or disagreed with him. And I just thought, it's a human being. A human life is gone. And he was a great father, a great husband. And I was thinking about his children. They will only be reading about him now, instead of him reading to them bedtime stories. I mean, it's just unbelievable of what is going on. So I was shocked when I saw this, as we all were.
So everybody is sort of talking like that. While at the same time, we're seeing the political division really dividing, deepening, not just in the U.S., but certainly in Canada and around the world. I have to, and I want to go back, circle back to that J.D. Vance appearance on the Charlie Kirk show yesterday, where he had quite a number of celebrities and political figures, influencers, commentators on during the broadcast, including Tucker Carlson. And this is, I did not watch the entire thing yesterday, but I became aware of more clips or more comments that had been made during the broadcast overnight. And this one here with Tucker Carlson really, really stuck in my mind. So I want to run it, and I do want to comment on this, not only on what Tucker Carlson says, but also the way J.D. Vance responds.
That was the question. If you were good faith, you're on his team.
That is exactly right. And good faith is the measure. And I have to say, I think now is exactly the wrong time to appropriate the memory of someone and the emotion that comes with that, the really intense emotion that all of us feel at his murder, and use it for your own parochial ends. Like, he stood for this, and I think the reason that Charlie was able to bridge the gap, particularly in foreign policy, is because he had, for example, genuine affection for Israel, which he expressed to me in private many, many times. Like, I love Israel. I don't think we should have another forever war, regime change war against Iran. And I think that made complete sense to me. I sort of agree with that, actually. And so it allowed both sides to talk to him because they felt like this person doesn't hate me. It doesn't need to get existential. It's not about disliking me or some weird bigotry. But I don't think it's helpful for people to jump in, particularly foreign heads of state, to say, this is what, he lived for my cause or whatever. That's disgusting, actually. Don't do that. That turns everybody off. You don't help your own cause by doing that. And it's also literally untrue. So I just hope that we can continue in, I'm not exaggerating, the spirit that he operated in, which is one of love for other people, including people we disagree with, and don't make it, as small bore as that. That doesn't help.
Yeah, so one of the issues, Tucker, and I agree with you, that he would express disagreements with the administration on. There are two that jump out. Is one, Charlie was a hardliner on immigration. He wanted us to control our borders as much as possible. Yes. He wanted us to ramp up the deportations. I remember having conversations with Charlie where he would say, why aren't the deportations higher? Why aren't you doing more? And I would talk to him. But it wasn't, hey, I don't understand this or I disagree with you and therefore I'm going to blast you and assume that you're in bad faith. It's, I'm a free citizen. I love you guys. I supported you guys, and I'm going to use my platform to try to accomplish as much good as I possibly can. And I think that made him such an effective operator. And I would talk to Charlie. I'd say, Charlie, well, look, here are the reasons why. And as you've seen, Tucker, we've ramped up deportation numbers. We have there are a lot of people who are self-deporting because they don't want to be in the country knowing that eventually immigration enforcement will happen. But I think part of that success comes from people like Charlie applying pressure. Pressure as a friend, pressure as somebody who cares deeply about the issue. And that's true also, I know we have about 90 seconds left, but that's true about foreign policy. Like, I remember Charlie calling me and saying, I'm really worried. And this is back in the summer when the Iran strikes were sort of first being contemplated. He said, I'm really worried this is going to become another regime change war in the Middle East that we get trapped in. And I said, Charlie, first of all, have some faith here. The President of the United States is not a believer in perpetual war. He knows the mistakes of Iraq and Afghanistan. He doesn't want to repeat them. But Charlie was very clear that he could support Israel. And by the way, he did eventually support the strikes on the nuclear facility while simultaneously saying, no more. This can't become a bigger thing. This can't become a broader thing. And again, I think he modeled a really good way of applying pressure, of disagreeing when you do disagree, but also recognizing that so long as you're operating in good faith, we're all part of the team. And that's something I'm going to try to take from Charlie's legacy is not that we're always right, not that we can't take criticism, but that we all should try to work together.
It did worry me because I think your description is perfect. He was one of the very few who took that message and stood by it. I mean, right to the very end. This cannot get bigger. We don't want another regime change war. But man, some of the people who send money to Turning Point, his donors, were very tough on him. So tough on him that I could feel it. I talked to him a lot in the last few months, and he was under enormous pressure. He never bent. He never became bitter.
He kept his integrity to the very end.
To the very end. And I just think it's important to say that because it's true.
Absolutely.
Tucker Carlson was saying what he was saying because Netanyahu had said something about Charlie Kirk being, basically on his side. And then he's saying, we shouldn't. What he's saying is that his message isn't political, but it is political. The whole thing is political. Every aspect of this is political. And you have people on, if you're a Democrat, you're not allowed to criticize him now. If you are on the Republican side, depending on which camp you're in, or the MAGA side, or the Maha side, or whatever, you're trying to use Charlie Kirk. Tucker Carlson was sitting there saying we shouldn't politicize this because essentially saying, and I'm paraphrasing now, but he's suggesting that, it's disgusting to exploit Charlie Kirk for political purposes after he's been assassinated while he sits there and exploits him for political purposes. And so does J.D. Vance. It's just what is the what's the I'm just flabbergasted. And the people on the MAGA side are listening to this and they're cheering it and they're accepting it is really, I think, the better word. And listening to Tucker Carlson say these things, because what he's done by saying what he has said there is he's manipulating us. He's, again, putting up this shield or this soft censorship where you'll be shamed, doxxed, canceled if you say anything negative about Charlie Kirk. If you're on the left, don't you dare say anything. You shut up, or you will be held accountable for your criticism of Charlie Kirk. We'll cancel you. So don't you dare exploit Charlie Kirk by politicizing his message in any way. You can't. And Netanyahu, because Tucker Carlson, obviously very, very critical, not a Netanyahu fan, is saying, how dare you, Benjamin Netanyahu, point out that Charlie Kirk had said positive things about Israel. You're not allowed to now use Charlie Kirk as a political tool. You're not allowed to even quote him. He's ours. He's not yours. Tucker Carlson is using Charlie Kirk for political purposes. So was Netanyahu. They're all doing it. And J.D. Vance is sitting there doing the same thing. They're sitting there saying that that Charlie Kirk was an advocate for free speech and that he wanted to essentially give a voice to everyone. Well, see, they're not here. They're not sitting on that program really sharing the message that Charlie Kirk was spreading. What they're doing, it's not about Charlie Kirk's free speech or anybody else's free speech. What they're really doing is everybody is now trying to put their words into Charlie Kirk's mouth. Because Charlie Kirk had sort of flip-flopped on some issues as well. Well, there's J.D. Vance saying, well, Charlie Kirk was in favor of deportations. And so, then everybody has to be on board with deportations because you're not allowed to criticize Charlie Kirk. So if Charlie Kirk was in favor of deportations, as J.D. Vance says, then that becomes a sacred cow issue. You can't say anything against that because Charlie Kirk was in favor of it. You're not coming right out and saying it in that way, but that's what they're doing. So at least for a little while this all plays out and the emotions are still running high, they're using Charlie Kirk as a political tool in order to further their political agendas. Tucker Carlson trying to silence Benjamin Netanyahu, and J.D. Vance using Charlie Kirk in this instance to promote his the MAGA immigration policies and ICE and the deportations. Oh, Charlie was in favor of it, so it must be a good thing. And, and he wants it, and everybody gets to have free speech and weigh in on these issues, but not right now, because if you say anything that goes against Charlie Kirk, then you'll be held accountable. Because we showed you that website. I think they're up to, charliesmurderers.com. I think they're up to now over 30,000 submissions. Don't quote me on the number. It might be much higher than that. I've seen some conflicting numbers where people are submitting the names of people who have said negative things about Charlie Kirk, who are accused of celebrating his death so that they'll lose their jobs, be doxxed. And we've seen calls for people to call people's employers so that they'll be canceled. So here you have the MAGA movement, which has been complaining certainly since the pandemic, and really even well before that, actually, if you think about it, complaining about censorship, complaining about cancel culture, complaining about social media and hate speech regulations and laws. While we're here, now you've got the Trump administration pushing for hate speech rules, regulations, and censoring people and even doxing people. It's the same stuff, just from the other side. And it's because people are seeking revenge. And it's making people crazy. It's I'm finding it extremely distasteful. And I fear that what is also going on here is a new form, or a neo-McCarthyism that is taking root within the administration. And Charlie Kirk has provided the catalyst for that. We need to be very vigilant here, very careful. Be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. And it's coming from, well, here, Candace Owens, another conservative influencer of sorts, but she's become very, anti-Israel, changed her position on the issue. And here she is. She's also appropriating Charlie Kirk through this, as some others on, in this camp have as well.
In the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie...
See, Benjamin Netanyahu says that Charlie is, a supporter of his and a supporter of Israel. Candace Owens is saying, oh, no, he had these meetings and his position on Israel was now very critical. And some people are even saying that that's the reason this all happened, that Charlie Kirk was killed because of Mossad and because of his criticism of Israel. So this is the other side. This is the other side. Tucker Carlson criticizing Netanyahu for appropriating Charlie Kirk for his political cause. And here's Candace Owens and others really just doing the exact same thing on the other side. Tucker Carlson not saying a word about her, though.
He was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you. And he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to go out to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages.
Okay. So Charlie's gone. He can't speak anymore. So people can look back and they can lift his quotes. And on the subject of Israel, I know that he's said different things at different times. And most recently, he has said some things. And I ran a clip the other night where he has been critical of what's going on in Gaza. But it's just, when I hear Tucker Carlson say that, oh, it's disgusting for, anybody to politicize this, for heads of state to appropriate Charlie's message. Well, he does it himself. Well, she does it. Well, everybody's doing it. Charlie Kirk was a political figure. He was a political influencer. And he was on a side. He wasn't neutral. He was a conservative influencer. And everyone is commenting. Some people critical, some people not. No, it's not appropriate for people to celebrate the death of any person who has been killed. It is gross. But on the politics and the issues, people should be allowed to speak their mind. And I think, it's my opinion. Well, I'll come back to my thought on this, but I want to just comment too on another influencer, a very smart guy who I think Canadian, by the way, David Frum, who I do watch from time to time and read. He mentioned in one of his appearances in the past week a poem. It's a poem from John Donne. And I hadn't really thought of it in this way, but he mentioned it very briefly. And then I started to think about it more. And he mentioned this because it's the poem, Devotions Upon Emergent Occasions, specifically Meditation 17 from 1624. And the relevant passage is this: no man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. The point here is that when someone's voice is silenced through an assassination, it diminishes all of us. It diminishes me as an individual. Even if it's someone that I disagree with who has been silenced, because we're all participating in our community, because I am involved, as it says, in mankind. And so in that way, when Charlie Kirk was killed, it kills a piece of me. It takes away something from all of us. It diminishes all of us as a whole. That being said, I've also seen things online where people are holding up signs and they're saying things like, "I am Charlie Kirk." And I've been thinking about that as well. And I am not Charlie Kirk. I am me. I'm Rick Walker. You are you. The reason people are using that slogan, and the reason they want you to think of yourself as Charlie Kirk, is the same reason they want you to think of yourself as, or the Ukrainian woman who was killed on public transit, as someone you can relate to. If you're a woman, they want you to think of yourself as her, or they want you to think of that of that woman as like your your sister or your wife. But they are individuals unto themselves. It's a trap. It's a trick. It's a piece of propaganda. It's a mind game. And I just pointed out because this is one of the tools they use as part of this effort to get you invested emotionally on a personal level in the narrative, in the politics of this tragedy. And people buy into it. There was a family run over, a Muslim family in London, Ontario, not far from here, a couple of years ago now. Justin Trudeau went and spoke at a memorial for them and said, "Today we are all Muslims." No, I took exception to that as well. No, not everyone is a Muslim. You can empathize or sympathize, and you can provide support, as we should, for an entire community in such circumstance, or we can empathize and feel that we have lost a piece of ourselves in those moments because the community is diminished and a piece of each of us has been taken from us. When someone is killed or a family is taken in a violent act where they're run down in the street or on a sidewalk by some lunatic, or when someone like Charlie Kirk is silenced by a bullet from an assassin. But I am not Charlie Kirk. Because every individual is unique. Even people who belong to groups are still unique. Because I can belong to, it's a collectivist mentality, and it's a trap. I can be a Christian, and I can belong to a fitness club, and I can also belong to a political organization. So I can be a conservative. I could join the Conservative Party of Canada if I wanted to, and I could also join the fitness club, and I can be a part of that club, and I might be a part of a band or an orchestra, and I'm part of that group as well. And each of those things, every piece of me, everything that I do makes up me, because that's who I am. But I belong to all of these different groups, and all of these different things make me who I am. My family, my education, my experiences growing up, the group of friends that I belong to, the people I know on my street, everything that makes me me is what makes me me. And I might be part of a conservative group that is part of what Charlie Kirk has been, but I'm not Charlie Kirk. But when Charlie Kirk is silenced, it's an attack on free speech. It's an attack on that group. It's an attack on democracy. It diminishes our community. It diminishes all of us but it's a trap for people to tell you that you are Charlie Kirk. They tell you that because they want you to feel like you personally have been killed, so that you get so angry that you don't think straight and sometimes maybe do irrational things, or just follow these people who are putting these ideas into your mind. In a moment like this, clarity of thought is more important than ever. This is why right now is what I'm witnessing out there, and why I'm maybe not as popular as some of these other live streamers, is because I'm still sitting here night after night after night, and have been from the beginning, unwavering in my devotion to this concept of individuality, which is what Western society really, in many respects, has been built upon. That's where true diversity comes from. That's where freedom comes from, because I can only be judged as me, not as someone else. I can't be judged for the sins of a group. I can only be judged for what I do as an individual. The things around me, the community I belong to, the school that I went to, all of these things, even my heritage, it makes me who I am. But even within each of the groups that I belong to, each of the tribes, if you will, even within each of those groups, I'm still a unique individual. I belong to that group, and I belong to this club, and I belong to that orchestra, and I belong to this political party, and I believe these particular things. But it's a mix of all of these things that makes me a truly unique individual. And if I commit a crime, then I can be held accountable for that. But if I commit a crime, it doesn't mean that everybody in that orchestra is guilty of it. It doesn't mean that everybody in the Conservative Party of Canada would be guilty of it if I belonged to that political party, and I don't. But if I did, it wouldn't be right to blame everybody in the party. Nor is it right for me to sit here and appropriate Charlie Kirk's tragic death as my own, so that I can then project my anger onto others and portray myself as some sort of victim in that way. It is true that I'm a victim insofar as everyone is a victim, because we've all been diminished as a community, as a country, as a society through this assassination. But these people who are running around with these signs saying, I am Charlie Kirk. No, you're not. You're being manipulated by people who have an agenda. I hope that helps. Let's take a break. We'll come back with more.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
A lot of people critical of the new Liberal government and the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister for not, and beforehand too, before Parliament resumed, for not having a budget. So everybody's waiting for a budget as the government continues to spend money and make promises about spending money. Well, today we finally have a date, November 4th. We were told it was going to happen in October. Now, just a little bit longer. We have to wait until November 4th in Canada for the Canadian government, the Liberal government of Mark Carney, to introduce a budget. It's coming, we're told. Here's the exchange in question period today. Let me find this for you. Here we go. Okay. So Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, second day back. Parliament resumes, and critical issue. Poilievre going right after the finance.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Now we're halfway through the fiscal year, and the Prime Minister hasn't even presented a budget, despite the fact that he managed to double the deficit. It's now twice as high as that of Trudeau. What an accomplishment. And now we have inflation at a rate that is 50 times higher. And for food, it's up 70%. There are more people relying on food banks now. The Prime Minister said that we could judge him by grocery prices. So, what's the verdict? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, Canadians made a choice at the last election. They chose a government that will focus on the economy and on change, Mr. Speaker. That's exactly what we're doing. What we said is that we will be rigorous in our spending, to be ambitious in our investment, Mr. Speaker, because Canadians understand that if we want to build a strong economy in the 21st century, we have to invest. We're here for Canadians. We're going to build the most resilient economy in the G7 and for the future, and we're going to build a Canada that all Canadians can be proud of. Canadians, well, many of them can't even eat. The Prime Minister promised to spend less, but the deficit is twice as high. He promised that grocery prices would go down, but they're up 70% higher than what the Bank of Canada had said. There's more poverty now. Does the Prime Minister recognize that his empty promises have led to empty stomachs? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we obviously recognize the situation of many Canadians, and that is why, during the last election, Canadians chose a Liberal government, a government that stands up for them. And the first measure that we implemented was to reduce taxes for 22 million Canadians, exactly to help families across our country. And we can be proud of this, and that's something that's the Conservatives should celebrate. And exactly this type of measures we're going to take. We're going to help the middle class and families and build a Canada that all Canadians can be proud of.
Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would spend less, yet his deficit spending is 100% more than even Justin Trudeau. And what is the real human consequence of that? Food price inflation is rising 70% faster than the Bank of Canada's target. And today, the CEO of the major food bank network in Toronto says that there has been a 400% increase in food bank use there. Does the Prime Minister understand that his empty promises lead to empty stomachs?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it's reassuring to hear the Leader of the Opposition that listened to the Prime Minister during the summer. I'm glad to see that he retained that we're going to spend less so we can invest more, Mr. Speaker, and investing more in Canadians. Like, for example, reducing the taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Like making sure that people who want a first-time home, buy a first-time home, will pay less in GST, Mr. Speaker. Making sure that we eliminate the consumer carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. I think the leaders should celebrate that this government is there for families across Canada to build a stronger and more...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he wants us to celebrate his failures, including failures that are leading to real human suffering. Let me quote the CEO of Daily Bread Food Bank, Neil Hetherington. So giving you some context, previously before the pandemic, we were at 600,000 for the year visits to the food bank. And so it took 38 years to get 1 million visits per year, and then only 1 year to get 2 million visits, another year to get 3 million. Now we are at 4 million visits. Food bank lineups are growing and growing at an accelerating rate under this Prime Minister. Does he realize the very real human consequences of his broken Liberal promises?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I'm here to announce some good news. Last night, Canada and British Columbia approved the new Silicem LNG export terminal in northern British Columbia. It's with the Niska Nation. It will be the second largest private sector investment in the history of this country. The second largest in the history of this country. It will employ thousands of Canadians. We would love the Conservatives to help us build Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was not about re-announcing a previously approved project. It was about the cost of food. And frankly, it is insulting. We have asked 10 questions about the cost of food in the last 2 days, and not a single Liberal minister will get up and answer it. Maybe that's because the inflation rate on food is 70% above the target. Maybe it's because there are now 4 times as many visits to Toronto food banks as there were 3.5 years ago. Maybe it's because they broke their promise to stabilize food prices. Maybe it's because the Prime Minister promised that he could be judged on the price of food. Speaking of which, what's the verdict?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, well, I know we're all in this House concerned about the price of food, and we're also concerned about our farmers. The #1 cost of living in Canada is related to housing, Mr. Speaker, and as I mentioned yesterday, people are concerned about housing prices. This government is taking action to make housing more affordable. With Build Canada Homes, with tax cuts, with the first-time home buyers tax cuts, we're making a difference for people in their pocketbooks.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was about food prices.
Right. Yeah.
And he stood up to announce that he's going to be feeding some of his friends who are going to populate this latest $13 billion bureaucracy, a bureaucracy that will build no homes and that will only reward Liberal insiders who, like him, have a record of actually doubling housing costs.
Right.
But back to food, the stuff that needs to go on people's dinner table. We have a record number of people at food banks after the Prime Minister promised to make food more affordable. Doesn't he realize that his promises have real costs for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State's report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a little rich coming from the guy who voted against the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker. But I would like to say that Food Banks Canada does exceptional work, and they also make good recommendations for government. 1, they suggest we build up Canada's social safety net. 2, they say we should solve the affordable housing crisis, and we should help lower-income workers make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, all of those things are things that Conservative leader votes against time and time in this House.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Balaye-Chambly.
Okay. You get the idea. They're back in Parliament. I have Pierre's exchange with the media afterward as well, but I think I'm just going to skip it tonight. He's not saying anything really new. I am really kind of focused on November. And I predict that the Conservatives will end up supporting the budget and it will pass. There will not be another election. I don't think the Canadian public has an appetite to go to the polls at the moment. The government certainly will want to avoid it, but we'll see what happens with that budget. I bet you the Conservatives get some of the things that they want as the Libs compromise in order to stay in power. So it's going to be an interesting October as we work our way toward that budget. Kash Patel, let's take a look at that. He delivered a defiant testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee today. He's facing increasing scrutiny over his handling of the investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He was wearing this red tie with Liverpool FC logo, repeatedly clashed with Democrats over a 3-hour period, shrugging off suggestions today that he mishandled the case. It has politicized the FBI. He's the director of the FBI now. He also revealed some new details about the Kirk assassination and the FBI's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case and the Trump administration's plans to clamp down on crime in U.S. cities. And he'll go before the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. I do have this exchange between Kash Patel and Senator Booker, and it was heated today. There's Kash.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not take
It is my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what
you
my
tell-
time is. You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
That
Ooh. I'm not going anywhere, as people call for his resignation. We'll see what happens tomorrow with regard to all of that. You want to talk about the politicization of Charlie Kirk assassination? There it is on full display. Donald Trump. Should we go to that now? Oh, I want to mention Chrystia Freeland too. She has resigned from cabinet. That was a bit of a surprise. She, let me just pull my notes up over here because today she resigned from cabinet. She'd been appointed to the position of what was a transportation minister. And this is the second time she's resigned. Was finance minister, resigned while Trudeau was still in power, as you may recall. Then ended up, because I think she just had enough because of the economic statement that came out. She was basically thrown under the bus and was being used as a scapegoat for Trudeau's massive spending increase. So she said, no, not me. She resigned. Wasn't shortly after that, Trudeau ended up resigning. Then we got into the election and, a leadership review, and she ran against him, lost. We ended up with Carney in the leadership and now the prime minister's office. And so she says, this is a quote. She says, I have decided to step down from cabinet today and to turn the page on this chapter in my life. I do not intend to run in the next election. And then the prime minister issued a statement today thanking Freeland for her extraordinary service in the cabinet of Canada's federal government over the last decade. I can tell you that Freeland and Carney have a friendship that goes back a long way. So I'm not really sure what the truth is or what the real reason might be for her stepping aside, except that she doesn't own a car, and I don't think she's a very good driver, and she is in the transportation portfolio. She got that speeding ticket. We made fun of her. I'm sorry, but she's a politician. She's fair game, and it was funny. Yeah, so I'd say that's a big loss for the Liberals. She's still going to serve as a member of parliament, and she's going to, what's the position she's getting here? It's Canada's new special representative for the reconstruction of Ukraine. So she'll be an MP, and then she'll have this special role working to assist with the reconstruction of Ukraine, because earlier this year, Canada committed an additional 2 billion Canadian in military assistance to Ukraine. And of course, she has a family with Ukrainian roots. So that's why all that is happening. We'll see. I don't think we've seen the last of her. She'll sit there as a member of parliament, and I think she'll come back around eventually and take on a more prominent position within the party again in the years ahead. She's still young enough to have a lot of years in politics ahead of her if she chooses. Who knows what's really going on behind the scenes with all that? My guess is there's probably some bad blood at this point between her and Trudeau, though. A little bit. You can kind of sense that. What else do I have on my list here tonight? Oh, the ground offensive in Gaza. Yeah. Israel has launched that. Robert Redford also passing away. Anybody out there a Robert Redford fan? Am I showing how old I am? He was born in 1936. Yeah. Oh, you know, one of the great movies that he made that I really loved, The Natural. The baseball flick. That was a great movie. Yeah, look at this. An Incredible Life Sundance Film Festival founder. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yeah, he was a Hollywood heartthrob back in the day, 60s and 70s. He was sort of the go-to leading man, right? Right here, as it says, Robert Redford, the actor and director who sailed to Hollywood stardom with turns in classics such as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men. That was another great one. All about Watergate, and invigorated American independent cinema. As the founder of the organization behind the Sundance Film Festival, died Tuesday morning. He was 89. Cindy Berger, his publicist, said he died at his home in the mountains of Utah, the place he loved, surrounded by those he loved. He will be missed greatly. The family requests privacy. Redford was best known as a, again here, go-to leading man of the late 1960s and 1970s, instantly recognizable for his windswept hair and widely beloved for his easy charisma. But he was also an accomplished filmmaker, committed political activist, and culture-shaping entrepreneur. Yes, just a stellar Hollywood career. A lot of great movies. Six decades he was active as an actor. Won 2 Academy Awards, an honorary prize in 2002, 3 Golden Globes, including the Cecil B. DeMille Award Lifetime Achievement Honor in 1994. And the Presidential Medal of Honor awarded to him by Barack Obama in 2016. Saying in remarks at the White House that Americans admire Bob, this is Barack Obama speaking, admire Bob not just for his remarkable acting, but for having figured out what to do next. Yeah, he didn't seem to ever stumble, just one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and was always there. With Paul Newman right there, 1969. He'll be missed. Already is. Speaking of Paul Newman, do you remember Newman's own salad dressing? Anybody? I do. It must be out there still somewhere. I think it's still a brand, and some of that money goes to help good causes when you buy any Newman's own products. The French salad dressing, just something about that stuff. I love that stuff, but I haven't seen it anywhere in a long time. They had it, I think, Wendy's restaurants. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I was exposed to it first, when they had their salads. Not the salad bar, it came after that. And they had Newman's own dressing for a while, and they had French. I love that stuff. Man, I miss that. I miss Newman's own French dressing. If anybody knows where I can get some, let me know. Email me or put it in the chat so I can find it. We'll be right back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, I'm going to pivot over here to what's going on with Trump, because he's on his way, or he's actually arrived now in Britain. Second state visit. Nobody gets that, but Trump got it. So he's over there. It's a historic event. A lot of attention focused on this. Now this was him departing today. He had a gaggle with the media before boarding Air Force One. This is him departing the White House today. A little bit of this roll, because he addresses here off the top the ground invasion of Gaza by Israel, and then proceeds on to other issues. Here he is.
Let me tell you, if they do that, they're in big trouble.
On the Federal Reserve.
Do you believe the Federal Reserve is an independent body? What do you think about the independence?
Oh, it should be, but I think they should listen to smart people like me. I think I have a better instinct than him. If you look, all the economists got it wrong. I got it right, along with one other people out of 100. So they should listen to people that are smart. Nothing wrong with that. But they have to make their own choice. But they should listen.
To Prime Minister Netanyahu?
No idea.
What about the idea of Israel beginning this ground offensive in Gaza City? Do you support that?
Well, I have to see. I mean, I don't know too much about it. I can tell you that if they put the hostages in front of them, Hamas, as protection, as they call them bodyguards, Hamas is going to have hell to pay.
Your trip to the UK today, what do you hope to achieve?
Well, my relationship is very good with the UK, and Charles, as you know, who's now king, is my friend. And it's the first time this has ever happened where somebody was honored twice, so it's a great honor. And this one's at Windsor. They've never used Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right? So it's going to be nice. But basically, I'm there also on trade. They want to see if they can refine the trade deal a little bit. We made a deal, and it's a great deal. And I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well. We've never done this well. We're having trillions of dollars coming because of the tariffs. They'd like to see if they could get a little bit better deal, so we'll talk to them. But primarily it's to be with Prince Charles and Camilla. They're friends of mine for a long time, long before he was king. And it's an honor to have him as king. And, you know, I think he represents the country so well. I've watched. He's such an elegant gentleman, and he represents the country so well.
Actor Robert Redford passed away today. Did you hear about that?
Oh, he did? Wow.
Apparently in his sleep at his home.
Well, that's a good way to go, I guess. But I'll tell you, Robert Redford was great. He had a series of years that there was nobody better. This just happened, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He died at his home in Utah in his sleep.
Yeah.
And what movie would you say you liked the best in?
Well, you have a lot of them. Honestly, I'd say he made 7 or 8 great movies. They were really great. There was a period of time when he was the hottest. I thought he was great.
On TikTok, will TikTok go dark? Are you going to delay the TikTok ban?
Well, we have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they've made in the past.
What companies are going to
We'll be announcing that. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it. And, you know, the kids wanted it so badly. I had parents calling me up. They don't want it for themselves. They want it for their kids. They say, if I don't get it done, they're in big trouble with their kids. And I think it's great. I hate to see value like that thrown out the window.
So on auto executives...
And, you know, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars.
But some auto executives are concerned that compromising the 15% for auto tariffs coming in hurts American automakers. What do you say to...
Well, I haven't compromised anything. Where did I compromise?
Going down to 15% from 25.
Going down to 15%?
Yes, from 25.
We charge, well, and where did the 25 come from? It came from there.
Mr. President.
You tell me.
Mr. President. Some auto
just so you know, they paid nothing for years. Now they're paying 15%. And some things can pay more, like chips could pay more. Pharmaceuticals could pay more. You know, there's a bigger margin. With a car, you have to make 15% before you make a profit. Pretty tough. So we had a good deal. Don't forget, European Union is paying our country because of tariffs $950 billion. Think of that. We're talking about a year. $950 billion. Japan is paying us $650 billion. These are countries that paid us nothing until I came along. And China's paying us a tremendous tariff. You know what the tariff is, right? You know what the tariff they're paying is?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. So it's 30% for the fentanyl as well as whatever for the 301.
20% for the fentanyl. But 20%. The overall is about 55%. Yeah. Okay? That's as opposed to nothing. Would you say that's a difference? We have a big decision coming up, and if the Supreme Court rules the way, hopefully they will, because, I mean, every legal expert said we win that case, but you still have to watch. And the Supreme Court's been terrific. I think they're very fair. All I want is fairness, and we win. But if we win the Supreme Court case, which is the finalization of tariffs, we will be by far the richest country anywhere in the world, and we'll be able to help our people more, and we'll be able to help other countries when we want to. But I will say, if we win that case, our country, you see what we've taken in just on a temporary basis. We've taken in trillions of dollars, trillions with a T, and we will be by far the richest country in the world. There'll be nothing for us. And you know, one other thing, we'll have tremendous power to negotiate. The use of tariffs, I settled 7 wars. 4 of them was because I was able to use tariffs.
Hope Leo the other day in an interview criticized the fact that some CEOs make hundreds of times more in salary than average workers. He's worried about polarization.
Yeah.
Do you share that concern?
Well, I do say there's a big gap. I do say that. Don't forget, I'm a popularist. There's a big gap.
Mr. President, it's been a month since your meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. A month on, do you think that meeting accomplished what you hoped?
Yeah, it accomplished a lot, but it takes two to tango also. You know, those are two people, Zelensky and Putin, that hate each other. And it looks like I have to sit in the room with them because they can't sit in the room together. There's great hatred there. But no, that meeting accomplished a lot.
Confidence in Kash Patel, and what are you hoping comes from his testimony on the Hill today?
Well, first of all, I think that Pam Bondi has done an unbelievable job, and everybody agrees with that. And Kash, if you take a look at what he did with respect to this horrible person that he just captured. He did it in 2 days. It took other similar cases 4 days, 5 days, 4 years. If you look at certain shooters. Now, I have confidence in everybody in the administration. My administration, and a lot of people are saying it, not just me, it's so far the best administration ever formed. You look at our financial people. Our country is making a fortune. We have to keep tariffs because our country has become successful because of tariffs. We have the case in the Supreme Court. That's a very vital case for the success of our country. It's very vital to negotiate with other countries. And remember, other countries charge us tariffs. That's a very, very big case. And if we win that case, our country will be by far the richest country anywhere in the world. And then we can help our people. We'll get rid of debt. We'll get rid of everything. We can help our people. And we can even help other countries where they need it.
Mr. President, narcotics in Venezuela. Narcotics in Venezuela. President Maduro in Venezuela says that he's getting ready to invade his country. What is his message to him?
Well, I would say this right away. Stop sending Tren de Aragua into the United States. Stop sending drugs into the United States. We knocked off actually 3 boats, not 2, but you saw 2. And the problem is there are very few boats out in the water. There are not a lot of boats out in the water. I can't imagine why. Not even fishing boats. There's nobody. Nobody wants to go take a fish. So it's one of those things. But I would say to him very strongly, stop sending people from your prisons into our country. They're sending their prisoners. They've done that already. So the numbers just came out. Another month with 0 people getting into our country. And these are figures, John, with people like you that would like me to do badly. Nobody has ever done on the border like I've done.
Mr. President, what will you tell President Zelensky if you meet with him in New York?
Well, he's going to have to get going and make a deal. He's going to have to make a deal. Zelensky's going to have to make a deal. And Europe has to stop buying oil from Russia. Okay? You know, they talk, but they have to stop buying oil from Russia.
Mr. President, there are some...
The wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House.
I hope so.
How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, you know, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I've built buildings. Like I'm building a building here. You know where I'm building? You know what? You see that area? Yeah. That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom. I think it'll cost $250 million. And it will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, you know this? They've wanted a ballroom. And now they're going to finally have it. And it's going to knock your socks off.
President Trump says a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners Program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead,
okay,
John.
okay,
Maybe
so
you can set a nicer tone.
Excuse me.
Quiet.
Mr. President, what are you hearing about the operation in Gaza, the Israeli operation? Are you concerned?
Well, I'm hearing that they want to go in, and I'm also hearing that Hamas wants to take our 20 hostages, plus dead bodies. You know, they have about 32 of them, and they want to put them in the way of any attack. And nobody's happy about that situation. It came out yesterday. I'm sure you saw that. They want to Supposedly, they've taken the hostage out of deep caves and tunnels, and they're bringing them, putting them on the front line. Nobody's heard of that one for a few centuries.
You saw that the UN said that Israel is guilty of genocide, that they've committed acts of genocide in Gaza.
They voted on that?
They have a new report out saying multiple acts of genocide.
When it comes to a vote, we'll see what happens. That'll come to a vote, but we'll see what happens.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
Should probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country. But we're fixing it. We have right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. And remember, 1 year ago, our country was dead. And now Washington, D.C. is fixed, and I fixed it. The mayor was fine. The mayor was just fine, okay? The mayor had the sick city for many years. He's been mayor for many years. The one that fixed it was me and my people, and it is so safe. You should take your beautiful wife tonight and have dinner down there. You won't be shot. You won't be accosted. You won't even be looked at incorrectly by anybody. Washington, D.C. is safe. Now we're going to Memphis, where it's pretty rough, to put it mildly. And then we're going to have to go. A friend of mine who is a big railroader, he stops in all the cities. He knows every city. He said, sir, you have to save Chicago. So I'm going to go to Chicago early against Pritzker. Pritzker's nothing. If Pritzker is smart, he'd say, please come in. So last week, over the last week and a half, 11 people in Chicago were killed, murdered, and 38 were shot. And then Pritzker, and by the way, this is going on constantly. If they lose less than 6 or 7 people a week with murder, they're doing a great job in their opinion. Yeah. Chicago is a death trap, and I'm going to make it just like I did with D.C., just like I'll do with Memphis. Now, remember this. So a man comes into my office, one of the biggest businessmen. I'll tell you, he runs Union Pacific. Is that big? Biggest railroad in the world, I guess. And he started off as a railroader. He was running a railroad, a little caboose. He was in a caboose. Now he runs the whole damn thing. 45 years ago, he started off in a caboose. I don't know what that's all about. And he became the top, so that's a good place to start. But he came in, he knows the country intimately. He's looking to do a merger by another railroad, the one that had the little problem in East Palestine, right? And they want to buy that railroad, as you know. It's pretty public. But I sat with him and I talked. I said, so you know every city? Yes, sir. I go into every city, and I have for 45 years. Yeah. I said, where would you go next? He said, St. Louis is in big trouble. He said, but Chicago is a great city. You can save Chicago, sir. Don't let Chicago die. This is the guy telling me with great knowledge and so on. He said, don't let Chicago die, sir. It's dying. Don't let it die. I'm going to Chicago next.
The UAE, Mr. President. What do you think they want when you do it?
Well, I just want something to happen, whether it's federal, state, and most likely it's going to be state. The question is whether or not we overlap with a federal judge. So they're looking at that. But the state is very competent. The governor's doing a very good job. As you know, they have the death penalty. It's a tough death penalty, too, as you know. But they have the death penalty. So as to whether or not we judge, we will be working with them. We may or may not be able to judge.
When it comes to the governor of Utah, what do you make of his overall message of nonviolence?
Well, I agree with it. I agree 100%. But most of the violence is on the left.
He said that social media is a cancer.
What?
Do you agree with that?
He said
the Utah governor said that social media is a cancer and more people should log off and take some time away.
Well, it's not a cancer in all respects. In some respects, it's great. But there are segments, there are deep, dark holes that are cancerous, absolutely. Beyond cancer, they're death.
Okay. That's just... He says all these countries are paying the United States. No, they're not. The tariffs it just boggles my mind. The companies, the importers of the goods from those countries pay the tariffs. The exporting country, the countries that produce those goods that come into the United States, may absorb part of the cost by not increasing their price as much as the tariff, or reducing how much they charge their customers in the United States. But if the auto companies are buying auto parts from a factory out of the United States and importing those parts to install on cars, it's the auto companies that are paying for those tariffs. It's a tax on Americans. It just, we'll see over time. We'll see. And he has now arrived in Britain. I have some video here, actually. He's arrived in the UK for his historic second state visit. It'll see a crowded mix of royal pageantry and trade talks and international politics. And as you just heard, he says that he has a very good relationship with the UK. And man, it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. And there's a lot on the line. Not just trade, but NATO and even Canada as the 51st state. And I think it's our ongoing relationship with Britain, our heritage there, our links to Britain that may be insulating us a little bit from the kind of treatment that, well, say Venezuela is experiencing. Alarming comments there too, and alarming to see the massive military buildup around Venezuela, where we are still seeing and hearing from multiple sources that a U.S. invasion of Venezuela is imminent. Okay, so we have footage here of Trump arriving for this unprecedented second state visit in Britain. Air Force One is landed at Stansted. Trump, Melania, returning to Britain. No president has ever gotten 2 state visits before. And tomorrow is going to be a huge day. Here's a little bit of video. One. Okay, so that all looks, very cordial, but it's not all positive. There's, of course, it's politics, so there is a lot of criticism and activism, playing out in Britain as Trump and Melania prepare for tomorrow's events. We'll say that. In addition, he said that meeting with Putin in Alaska was very productive. And the truth is, nothing much has changed except that Russia has just escalated its attacks on Ukraine, and Ukraine has escalated its attacks on Russia. And we've seen these now. Putin has responded to the meeting in Alaska with these drone flights into Poland and Romania, testing, I think, the NATO response. What will NATO do? What will happen in Poland? How far will they go to defend their borders? The 19 drones, it's a lot of drones for to be a mistake. They weren't actually even armed. They were just sent in to generate some sort of a response to test the systems in Poland. And now he knows. NATO fighter jets did deploy, and we're seeing now troop buildups, and we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best there, I guess, as the political activism ramps up. And there's a political activist group that I think it's called Everyone Hates Elon or something like that. Anyway, they unveiled this massive Epstein and Trump banner at Windsor Castle ahead of his state visit. So it's not all going to be a bed of roses over there. There it is. And I think I can show you there. This thing is hanging from the castle. Let me see it here. Yeah. I don't know if, maybe it's not. I think this is the same video. Global News has video. I think it's the one I just showed you. But I'll bring it up over here anyway, just to show you their coverage. Yeah, same video. Yeah, protest group, Everyone Hates Elon. Oh, and look, they've got a billboard truck and billboards around town, because the Epstein story is the story that just won't go away. And I know I've been hearing that this is something they're very likely to make an issue of as Trump meets with the king, I think tomorrow. So we'll be bringing you more about that tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side, see you then.
They both look clean, but the guest list redacted, if you know what I mean. victims. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another new spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.